You're being controlled without realizing it. You think you're making your own choices. You think you're in control. But let me ask you this. Why do you say yes when you want to say no? Why do you stay silent when someone crosses a line? Why do you feel guilty for simply putting yourself first? That's not just social pressure. That's silent manipulation. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides inside well-placed words, inside expectations, inside emotional traps. It's not a direct attack. It's a frame, a setup, a game. And most people play along without knowing it. Because manipulation today isn't loud. It's subtle. It's calculated. And it works best when you don't see it coming. So the question is simple. Are you aware of the game? Or are you just another piece on someone else's board? The three most common forms of silent manipulation. So how does it actually happen? What does silent manipulation look like? When no one's yelling, no one's threatening, but you still end up doing exactly what they want? Let's break it down. 1. Guilt framing. I just thought you cared. Wow, I didn't expect you to say no. They don't accuse you. They don't fight you. They just make you feel guilty for having boundaries. Suddenly, you're questioning yourself. You feel like you've done something wrong, when all you did was protect your time, energy, or peace. That's guilt framing. It's emotional leverage disguised as concern. And if you're not aware of it, you'll bend yourself to please people who are quietly pulling the strings. 2. False choice. Framing. So, are you with us or against us? You either support me or you don't care. This tactic traps you in binary thinking. 2 options, both bad. And in the panic to prove yourself, you forget the third option, to step out of their frame entirely. They make the conversation about loyalty, love, support, but it's not. It's about power. Who gets to define the terms, them or you? 3. Expectation conditioning. You've always been the strong one. You're the one everyone counts on. Sounds like a compliment, right? It's not. It's a setup. Because the moment you try to rest, say no, or show weakness, they remind you of the role they've assigned you. And suddenly, you're performing a version of yourself you didn't choose. That's not love. That's not respect. That's control. Wrapped in praise. Backed by pressure. Driven by fear of disappointing them. These are the games people play. Quietly, skillfully, and constantly. Not with fists, not with threats, but with words, with tone, with silence. And they work because they go undetected. But once you see the pattern, you can never unsee it. Why it works, and why most people stay blind. Now here's the real question. Why do these tactics work so well? Why do intelligent people still fall for emotional traps, again and again? Because most people aren't thinking. They're reacting, automatically, emotionally, predictably. They're not playing the game. They're being moved by it. It's not about weakness. It's about programming. Since childhood, you've been conditioned to seek approval, to avoid conflict, to fit in, to keep the peace, even if it means betraying yourself. So when someone says, "I thought you cared," your first instinct isn't truth, it's guilt. When someone forces a choice, your brain locks into survival mode. Fight or follow, submit or defend. No space, no clarity, just a loop. And that loop gets reinforced every time you give in. Because here's the harsh truth. The world doesn't reward emotional sincerity. It rewards emotional strategy. That's why manipulators win. Not because they're smarter, but because they know how to control emotions, while others are still drowning in them. And unless you interrupt that cycle, you'll always be reacting. Always a step behind. Always being played. That's where cold logic comes in. Not as a defense, but as a complete reset. You don't just react less. You see more. You see the frame. You see the setup. You see the energy shift before a single word is spoken. Because cold logic isn't just silence, it's sight. And once you can see the game, you're no longer a piece on the board. You're the one holding it. Three principles to break the manipulation loop. So how do you break the loop? How do you stop being emotionally played without turning cold or numb? It starts with three simple principles. 1. Detach before you respond. The first move is no move. Don't speak, don't explain, don't justify. Step back internally. Not everything needs a reply. Not every comment deserves a reaction. Your pause is a power move. It creates distance. And in that space, you can see the game. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. 2. Ask yourself, whose frame am I in? Every conversation has a hidden frame, a context, a story. The manipulator's goal is simple, to pull you into their frame, so you play by their rules. I thought you cared, puts you in the guilt frame. You've always been strong, traps you in the expectation frame. When you feel pressure, pause and ask, whose frame is this? And why am I inside it? If the answer isn't you, step out. 3. Never reward. Guilt with compliance. This is how manipulators survive. They condition you to associate guilt with action. Make you feel bad? You do what they want. Make you feel selfish? You prove them wrong by giving in. Break that cycle. You are not unkind for saying no. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not cruel for honoring your limits. Never reward guilt with obedience. That's how you train them. And yourself. That guilt no longer works here. These three principles don't make you harder. They make you sharper. They don't turn off your emotions. They turn on your awareness. Because once you stop playing by their script, they lose the power to control the ending. Final realization. Every interaction is a battle for the frame. Every interaction is a negotiation. Not for love, not for truth, but for control. You're not just exchanging words. You're exchanging frames. And one of them always wins. Most people never see it. They walk into conversations blind, reacting, apologizing, explaining, trying to be understood, while quietly surrendering the frame. But cold mind doesn't do that. Cold mind holds the frame. Cold mind sees through the words, reads between the lines, and responds with intention. Or not at all. This isn't about being dominant. It's about being unmoved, unshaken, unreadable. Because when you don't give them what they expect, they lose their script. And when they lose the script, you control the story. If you found clarity in this, you're just getting started. In the next video, we'll explore why silence isn't emptiness, it's pressure, and how the most powerful people use it, not to speak less, but to control everything. Subscribe, decode more, think sharper, live colder.